Kitty, you had your chicken. I'm gonna say it's the cat anyways. All right, let me make sure it transfers over. Sweet. Okay, one more time without the oops.
You all know why we've come here.
Can you hear this?
The patrons have pushed us into a corner. Their magic has grown too powerful to hold in check. These villains are stealing the worship of our own followers. We must do something before they marshal their forces, before they destroy us and all we stand for. We've come to the vortex to destroy the world.
I guess the game starts with you guys having lost. Our side is lost.
Life will be better after the sundering. Our followers will live on in the new worlds of air, fire, stone, and water. Our enemies will be trapped in the labyrinth to contemplate their dark ways. And we will guide the new order into the future. Help me, my friends. Let us summon the world seal and begin the process of healing.
No, those are the bad guys. These are the ones that destroyed the world.
This seal ties together all of Earth's elements. As we sunder it, so do we sunder the world. Thus we begin a new age.
They basically took everyone, put them into their little bubble categories, and then broke everything up. But yeah, those are worlds. Basically turned one world into four, and they're all split off into wherever now. So yeah, basically we were fighting them, we were winning, and then they basically hit that, doomsday button and broke the world up and trapped us in the labyrinth, which you'll detail more later. The main difference in the book series is it does follow more characters besides you as Apple, so it gives you kind of a broader sense of what's going on. In the game, we are just Apple. Technically, there's two characters. Oh, hey Jenna, I found your glasses. They were under the box you moved. It's okay. But if you have read any Dragonlance books, there might be a character or two that you recognize in this, because again, the novel series was done by Margaret Weiss and Crazy. Yeah, Super DM, and that's us. That is our character. Like that cloak. I don't know how it stays because there's no clasp or anything around the neck. But given how early this was, I'm just surprised at the, variety and, I actually thought this was a very, voice acting.
2,000 years ago, the Sartan Council sundered the world into 5 realms. One of them was a nightmarish prison called the Labyrinth, and into it was banished the entire patron race, your ancestors. This is the place you've always called home, and all you've ever wanted is escape. Your name is Haplo, and you are a patron. Not long ago, Lord Czar, the most powerful patron sorcerer of his generation, broke through the labyrinth's final gate. In doing so, he paved the way for others to follow. The path was still difficult, but not impossible. Your travels led you to the final gate, where the combined forces of the labyrinth waited to turn you away. The fight was hopeless. Alone, you never would have survived. But then Lord Tsar appeared, and with his help you were able to rout the dark monsters of the labyrinth. What followed is hazy. You remember stumbling out of the final gate, but then you collapsed on the ground, and Lord Tsar's concerned face faded to darkness as you lost consciousness.
So, that's how the game starts. You broke out of prison, almost died, and you go, well, man, I went through this labyrinth, this crazy place, and fought my way out. What spells do I have? Well, let's find out. Let's just use some magic on us. Our massive spell list that we had to get out of this crazy place. Heat and cold. Not fireball, not chill touch. We can make something warmer or something colder. We thought we could get out of this prison that trapped us for 2,000 years. Okay, cool. Yeah. Everyone else, no way, you're suckers. I'm rocking the best spell loadout in the world. It is a start. So yeah, we can use magic on ourselves. Let's see what happens when we use heat. There we go, this one. Lucky you didn't have the spell to up to char oil. So, yeah, we have our generic kind of, adventure, do this, but it is point and click, so a little bit easier interface than just trying to type a million different things in. We can cast spells on pretty much anything that's not grayed out. We can do it on the history book. We can do it on Tsar. We can do this on this weird rune, on the light. All that sort of stuff. So, I won't do all that crazy nonsense because, there are some pretty funny things, but if you went around casting heat and cold on every single thing, it'd be a little bit longer game than I want to do. So, you know what? Last thing we remember, we passed out, and now we're awake. Tsar, what's up?
Ah, Haplo. Do you feel well enough to talk, my son? I was worried. You took some serious wounds in your dash for the final gate. It was all I could do to repair your heart rune and heal you. The few weeks since you escaped the labyrinth should have been enough time to recover, but we don't want to rush it.
Oh, another thing is, basically all the patrons have like a heart rune where if it breaks, then they can't cast magic. I forget how it normally regenerates. I don't think it's just time. You need some magic to regenerate it if it's broken. But yeah, if your heart rune is broken, it's not that you're dead, you just can't cast any more magic.
I know you have a lot of questions. I'll do my best to answer them, but first I'd like to give you some history. You've spent your life trying to escape the labyrinth and hating the Sartan who consigned our race there. But you don't really know the full story. Even I didn't know everything when I escaped, but I learned quickly.
And I do appreciate, again, this is not that it's a super early game, but, there's facial expressions, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, just...
You see this city around us? The Sartan made this. They made it for us, if you can believe it, for when we emerged from the labyrinth. We were supposed to be docile, rehabilitated, brainwashed. Instead, we hate our Sartan jailers more than ever. There are libraries here, stocked with books. Since my escape, I've been studying them. They tell me much, but not all. There are mysteries I cannot explain, but I will tell you everything I've learned.
Okay, lower the game audio just a bit.
2,000 years ago, our patron ancestors warred with the Sartan. We were winning. It was only a matter of time until we defeated the evil sorcerers, took our rightful place as leaders of the world, and freed the other races from their slavery to the Sartan. In desperation, a Sartan named Sama hatched a fiendish plan. He intended to sunder the world into 5 realms. 4 of these realms would be homes to the mensch races, elves, humans, and dwarves. The 5th is here, the labyrinth. It was supposed to serve as a prison for our race. They created a magic artifact called the World Seal. With it, they succeeded in sundering the world. Our ancestors were trapped in the labyrinth, and the rest of the world was broken into the other 4 realms. They planned to lord over the realms and administer the labyrinth as we were rehabilitated. But something happened. They just disappeared, and with them, all of their good intentions. Without the guidance of the Sartan, the labyrinth became a slaughterhouse. Its magic made it aware, intelligent, and it wanted our blood. Life was a living hell for our people. But instead of breaking us as the Sartan wanted, the labyrinth has made us stronger. Many of us have escaped, despite the labyrinth's best efforts. I go back in every day to aid others in their way. I only needed to take you a few hundred feet. You even demanded that you cross the final gate on your own, without any help, before you passed out. You should be proud. Now, my son, I need you. Since my escape, I have been devising a plan to restore our people to our once glorious position. It is our birthright. To this end, you must carry out a very special mission for me. I need you to go into these realms. You'll not only be gathering information, but searching for the seal itself. With it in hand, I plan to reform the world from the broken pieces that the Sartan left us. But here I've been dominating the conversation. You must be very confused. I'm sure you have many questions for me. I'll detail my plan later.
So, yes, this is info dump the story. A lot of it is, detailed, more in the books and stuff like that. This is probably the heaviest bit of information that we'll get until like almost the end of the game. And it's just to detail the world and stuff like that. And I like it. So we are going to go through every little bit of it.
How exactly did the Sartan sunder the world?
The Sartan commanded their dwarven slaves to forge an artifact called the World Seal. It consisted of 5 metal hexagons, each inscribed with a rune, a symbol, which represented one of the 5 realms. They broke the seal apart, and as they did, the world broke apart as well. It was sundered into the 5 realms, and each seal piece went into the realm that it named. As you see above my head, the seal piece that names the Nexus is here.
Tell me about the other realms.
Certainly, my son. The Sartan sundered the world into 5 realms. They based 4 of them on the elements: air, fire, stone, and water. The 5th, of course, is the labyrinth. They are all separated by large distances, too far to travel in a lifetime. That's why the Sartan created the Death Gate. Through it, people can travel from one realm to any other.
Can you tell me about the realm of air?
The books here are rather sketchy about the realms, but of all of them, the world of air, or Arianos as the Sartan named it, is the one I'm most familiar with. It's made up of many separate continents which float in the air.
I'm going to read the story. You can read it.
The lower continents are populated by the dwarves. Those islands are plagued with almost continuous electrical storms. The higher continents, with much better weather, are homes to the humans and elves. Perhaps it indicates a pecking order in the mensch. Who knows? The books don't say much more about it, regrettably.
Sorry, I talked over that first part. Yeah, I'll read over the orange parts of it if it's basically he's got a book and maps and stuff.
Tell me about the realm of fire.
The realm of fire, or Prian, is a hollow world. Instead of living on the outside of the sphere, as we did on the original world, they live on the inside, along the inner curvature. At the center, 4 powerful suns throw their heat and light upon the ground. I believe it is the largest of the realms, but I know little else about it.
This? This is not the realm of fire. You'd think it is, but nope. Yeah, I know. There's a voice for the protagonist. You talk.
What do you know about the realm of stone?
Abarak, Realm of Stone, is not much more than a rock hanging in space. It's full of warrens, tunnels, and lava tubes. From the sketchy notes I read about it, it sounds perfectly horrible. Definitely the worst place to live of all the realms.
It's this place. That's the realm of stone.
Can you tell me anything about the realm of water?
Chalestra is the realm of water, and in fact it is a ball of water. At its heart is a sea sun which warms and lights the interior. The exterior is completely frozen, exposed as it is to the cold of space. Sea moons orbit the sea sun. They are hollow, living creatures which draw energy from the sun. Inside, the Sartan built cities to house not only the Mensch, but themselves. I believe that they intended to finally live there to administrate over all of the realms.
So my mic volume is maxed out, by the way. It's just that I have to face this way and look this way to talk because the mic is that way, and directionally speaking, if I'm talking this way, it probably won't carry as much as if I talk like here and carry this way. So I might, I'll definitely work something a little bit better out next time about the camera, mic, things like that. It's just, unfortunately, the original idea that I described when I was muted in the very beginning of the stream, the game wouldn't run on the new laptop. It will only run on this old laptop, even though they're basically the same computer specs, except one has a solid-state drive, the other one's. Anyways.
Have you learned anything about the labyrinth?
Like I explained, the labyrinth was supposed to rehabilitate our entire race. With the Sartan in control, the test that it administered would have been difficult, even violent, but never fatal. The Sartan disappeared, and somehow the labyrinth became sentient. Its magic took on an intelligence. It started to kill us, slowly but surely. It toyed with us, always gave us just enough hope to keep us fighting. It created environments and monsters that even the twisted Sartan had never dreamed of. But we bested it. We escaped, and more of our kind are escaping all the time. But it is a trickle instead of a flood. Most of our race is still trapped inside. If my plan unfolds as I expect, I will free everyone at the same instant and bring an end to our imprisonment once and for all.
What is this place exactly? It's not the labyrinth.
It's known as the Nexus, kind of a way station. This city is where the Sartan were supposed to watch over the labyrinth. I believe they were going to give it to us as a place to live once we had been rehabilitated. It makes a perfect staging area for my plan.
The Death Gate. What's that?
The Death Gate is a portal. It connects the 5 realms. With a good ship and the right magic, anyone can cross the Death Gate from one realm to any other.
Have you crossed the Death Gate?
No, I haven't been able. I've made preparations, but it's always been my intention to send an emissary, or more appropriately, a scout in my stead. In fact, I was hoping that you would be my eyes in these realms.
What kind of magic is needed to cross the Death Gate?
It's very simple, yet infernally unattainable. The books describe the necessary preparations. You need a ship, one powered by magic with the ability of flight. You need a steering stone, magically treated to guide the ship through the portal. But upon the stone, you also need the naming rune of the target realm. The books state this, but neglect to actually show the runes, as if they were common knowledge. None of the books depict these runes. For years, I've been researching the subject, reading every document, poring over every scrap of parchment, and I believe I've finally divined one of the runes, that of Arianos, World of Air. It's the only one I've been able to reconstruct, and it's taken years. I don't even know if it's possible to produce the others, given the pitiful research materials I have. It's my thought that the other runes might lie somewhere inside the realm of air. For some time, I've been planning to send someone there to look for them.
Do you have a ship?
Yes, the Sartan were kind enough to leave one for us. It didn't have the steering stone that such a ship requires, but I was able to reproduce one. Without the naming runes of the realms, of course.
Let's go back a step.
Certainly.
Can we talk about something else?
Of course. What do you want to know?
Where did the Sartan disappear to?
I don't know. I don't think their disappearance was planned. All of their documents indicate that they expected to be around for a long time to enjoy the fruits of their labor. It seems that one day they just vanished. I have a few theories. It's possible that they did plan to vanish. They might be hiding somewhere in the realms, using the disappearance as a smokescreen to make us careless. When the time is right, they will return with our deaths in their hands. In any case, I take nothing for granted. I must know where the Sartan went to. I must have vengeance. Our people cry for it. Somewhere in the realms there must be signs, clues. Eventually, we shall discover them, and the trail will lead us to the Sartan. Then we shall destroy them.
What were the Sartan like?
I've pieced together a picture from the books I've found. The Sartan were the opposite of us, even physically. As we have black hair with white ends, the Sartan have white hair with black tips. The runes that we place upon our bodies for protection and to enhance our magic, they shun. I believe that while the Labyrinth has forged us into a harder, stronger race, the Sartan have grown softer in their luxurious realms. They will be no match for us. They will look into our eyes and find the mercy they gave us, the hatred we've kept burning for thousands of years, and their own deaths.
Yeah, so that the heart rune is the center of their magic, but yeah, they basically are all tatted up and everything. It's a lot easier to give them long sleeves and everything else to make sure you don't have to draw those extra things.
You repaired my heart rune?
Yes. As the Labyrinth continued to attack you, the magic rune tattooed over your heart became weaker and weaker. When I discovered you, it was actually broken. As you know, heart runes must be complete to function. They sustain us, protect us. They are like circles. The magic of your being continually flows through it. If it becomes weak, you cannot cast spells. If it ever becomes broken, you fall ill. Luckily, I found you in time. I was able to draw upon my own life force to lend to you. It repaired your heart rune and made you strong enough to overcome the final hurdle of the Labyrinth.
You should know this question, but...
Tell me about magic.
Certainly, patrons have magic in their blood. Once we were the greatest sorcerers in the world. If we had learned to work together as the Sartan did, they never would have stood a chance against us. Since then, we have lost much of our skill. We have forgotten many spells because they were useless in the Labyrinth and retained only a very few. We never lost our potential, though. To this day, we can cast any spell as long as we know how it is constructed, but we are pitifully ignorant. One of the things we must do before we confront the Sartan again is to relearn the magic that we have forgotten.
How does magic really work?
Magic is based upon possibilities. The possibility always exists that reality is a certain way. Imagine that a stone wall blocks your path. There is a possibility that a door exists in that wall. A wizard bends this possibility into reality until the door appears. All spells work this way.
How do you cast a spell?
Spells are made up of runes. You build a spell by putting these runes together to form a rune construct. When you have built the construct in your mind, you trace the design in the air. The magic catches fire and leaves a glowing trace behind your finger. Upon completion, the spell casts, and reality is changed.
I prefer to say I am a reality breaker instead of a sorcerer.
How do you learn new spells?
The easiest way to learn a new spell is simply to watch someone casting it. All you have to do is mimic the motions, trace the same rune construct in the air, and you are casting that spell. Another method is to see it on paper. Sometimes people prepare books of spells. Other times they include spells to highlight their text. Spells could be found on any document. I've scoured these halls looking for any such books and come up empty. Perhaps the Sartan were careful about the text they left behind, just in case we escaped too soon.
Level up too fast.
Finally, one may discover a spell permanently placed upon an object. When a wizard wishes a spell to be permanent, he can magically prepare an object to receive the spell, then cast that spell upon it. Then the spell is always visible. It engraves itself upon the surface of the object. By studying it, one can learn the spell.
Can you tell me anything about the spells I already know?
I'm afraid that, like most patrons, your repertoire is rather limited. You know only the most basic of spells, heat and cold, normally used to keep yourself alive in the harsh climates that the labyrinth can produce. They are powerful, but not very versatile.
Do you know any spells that you can teach me?
Yes, I do. There are 2 spells that I intend to teach you. Identify and Rune Transfer. Both will be very useful in your mission. Identify can supply information about any magic object or spell. If you encounter an unknown object or learn a new spell, but are unsure about its magical properties, simply cast Identify. It will explain everything to you. The second spell, Rune Transfer, is very specific. With it, you can transfer a rune symbol from any object to a magically prepared surface. This will be necessary to place the naming runes of the 4 realms upon the steering stone. After I teach you the spell, I will give you a marker with the naming rune of Arianus upon it. You must take it aboard the ship to the steering stone. There, cast Rune Transfer upon the marker and transfer the rune to the stone. Following that, the ship will be able to take you there, to the realm of air. Regretfully, I do not know the other runes that name the remaining realms. Hopefully in your travels you will discover these other runes. If you do, transfer them onto the steering stone in the same way. The Death Gate will never let you into the other realms if you do not.
Can we talk about something else?
Of course. What do you want to know?
How do you get back into the labyrinth to help our people escape?
The labyrinth doesn't mind letting people in. It's letting them out that it doesn't like. I think the labyrinth has something personal against me. It tries to lure me in as far as possible before it throws everything it has at me.
Think of the labyrinth as AI from I Have No Mouth, but I Must Scream. Except magical.
Don't believe that I'm not afraid. Every time I enter, I wonder if I'll ever return. I've been able to get the best of that demon place many times, but every trip it gets more devious, more dangerous.
Or is it Anne? God, it's been so long.
What is your plan?
The Sartan's plan was unnatural. They killed millions of mensch and consigned our race to a living hell. I intend to undo the damage. I want to reform the world. Much like the Sundering, the Reformation will require all 5 of the seal pieces. I have the Nexus seal piece, but I need the other 4. The Sartan have hidden them somewhere in their realms. You must be my agent. I need you to go into the realms and find those seal pieces and bring them back here. When I have them all, I will reform the world, free our people, and bring the Sartan to justice. Now I know the naming rune for only one of the realms. I will give you a marker with the rune upon it. Use the Rune Transfer spell to place it upon the steering stone on board your ship. The stone will then be able to transport you to Arianus, the realm of air. Since I don't know the runes that name the other 3 realms, I can only hope that you will find them somewhere on Arianus. I also wish to know what happened to the Sartan. Their disappearance mystifies me. Finally, I want you to learn any new spells that you come across. It's only through the infusion of new spells that we will be able to build up our arsenal of magic. So, do you understand your mission? Take your ship to Arianus, search for its seal piece and the other realm's naming runes, and gather any information you can about the missing Sartan and new magic spells. When you have finished, come back here, deliver the seal piece to me, and give me your report. Now I shall teach you the 2 spells you will need. Watch me closely.
Zar's hand rises. One finger extends and begins to move against an unseen canvas. It leaves behind a glowing line in the air. The design follows the graceful movement of Zar's hand. Finally, Zar draws his hand back, but the spell remains, floating in the air.
This is the rune transfer spell. Study it. Remember it. This next construct defines the identify spell. Watch me again.
Her spell fades, and Zar traces a new design in the air. This one is very simple and quick to complete. You stare at it and commit it to memory.
That's all, my son. I am entrusting the fate of our race to you. Do not fail me.
He tosses you a stone marker with an intricate symbol upon it, the naming rune of Arianus, you gets, and returns to studying the tome laid on the desk before him. I have learned 2 spells. Spells we have learned are, well, identify. As in, basically how you identify is you do something like that, and then click identify, talks about it. Anyways, we don't need to do that. Let's read the history book. You know, it's nice to look at it. I'd be holding the history book to read. Well then, I will take the history book. Excuse me, Zara, I think we need this more than you.
You do not need this book for your quest, Haplo. I am researching the Reformation, and as this book is very damaged, it's quite difficult. I certainly don't want it damaged any further.
AKA, get off my face. Alright, fine. So, we can simply leave using any of the green markers. Sometimes you need to wait. And then there's a handy little map that shows you where you've been and stuff like that. So, oh, whoops. Pictures, of course. So this is our ship. Let's look at our ship. A wooden one-man ship is shaped like a dragon, an ancient mythological beast. The gangway door is open. And what is that in the distance? Let's look at the mountains. The mountains that harbor the labyrinth are exactly what you would expect. Harsh, pointed peaks that remind you of fangs. Completely unscalable. So says you, let's climb them. They don't call these mountains unscalable just because there's nothing to compare them to. They're steep and sheer, meant more to keep people inside the labyrinth than is adequate at keeping people out. Fine, be that way. This is the Nexus City. The city of Nexus is beautiful. It was created by the Sartans thousands of years ago to await the arrival of patrons, after the labyrinth had molded you to fit into the new society. Even so, it remains very impressive. Let's go to the labyrinth gate. Nice and stormy. This gate is the final portal. This gate is the final portal of the labyrinth. Just beyond is the hell you called home for most of your life. Well, shall we open it? Go back to where we started? You remember Zar, opening the gate and returning to help others escape the clutches of the labyrinth. You were one of the patrons who he helped. But you can't bring yourself to open the gate. You don't want to give the labyrinth another chance to take your life. Alright, well, time to go on board. The circle of light from the door does nothing to illuminate the ship. You can't see your hand in front of your face. I can see some things. Fine. Okay. Well then. Let's go take one of these shiny little boys.
Yes, I forgot that you'll need some light for the ship's interior. I'll still have one glow lamp left. Feel free to take that one.
The ancient metal seal is inscribed with the naming rune of the Nexus. Let's, gimme. Zara gives you a look that says that's not one of the skill pieces you're supposed to collect. Well, fine. I'm just trying to be completionist. You carefully place the glow lamp on the mount by the door. With the new light, you look around your ship carefully, identifying the navigational tools provided. In the center, you see the steering stone. It has the power to guide your dragon ship through the Death Gate and into the other realms, as long as that realm is represented by its naming rune on the surface of the stone. To the front of the ship, you see the steering wheel. Once you travel to a new realm, this allows you to navigate your vessel to the places within it. You stand at the crap bridge of your one-man dragon ship in front of the navigational wheel and steering stone. One man? I am not that big. This is definitely bigger than one man. The map for the city, basically that's all the access we get to the Nexus City, the Grand Nexus City. That's just this one room that Czar's in. Otherwise, we have the labyrinth that we are too afraid to go into, and then our ship. And that's all we got for this world. So, rune transfer, eh? Let's do it. I might be casting it incorrectly. Yeah, the stone is intended to be the receptacle of the runes, not their origin. There's nothing to transfer the runes to here, besides the steering stone. Fine. Fine. Just call me a silly goose. At least Zara didn't see that. Alright. Transfer the marker onto the steering stone. You transfer the marker into the steering stone. Alright, well, nothing left to do here. Let's go on. You call on the power of the steering stone to take you through the Death Gate and into Arianis, the world of air. Ask for payment. Sorry, I didn't see that earlier. Your ship arrives in the midst of a terrible storm. Quickly, you look around for a place to land to ride out the weather, but all you see is space. There's no ground anywhere. Okay. Suddenly, through the lightning, rain, and wind, you make out a floating island as big as a continent. You pilot the ship towards it and land on bare rock just outside of a cave. These are not the literal sizes, they are just representative. Well, we landed. And does not look like they have any flags about. Alright, we get to claim it. You stand on barren rock under a raging storm. The cave opens into a mountain wall and a ramp rises into your ship. What are those? Let's look at these zingy things. Two glowing metal objects sit atop tall poles. Periodically, the storm lashes out and sends bolts of lightning against them. Instead of doing any damage, they simply cause the objects to glow brighter. So, probably don't want to take them. But what about... Oh, whoops. A terrible storm rages overhead. Lightning pummels the ground, dangerously close to where you stand, though metal poles placed around the cave opening draw the nearest strikes, leaving you relatively safe. Yes, there are many ways to die in this game. Let's see. 3 tall metal poles stick out from the ground. Two have strange glowing metal devices atop them. The third is bare. Well, quarter staff maybe? You check the metal poles, but they steadfastly remain where they are. And if it's something that's grayed out, like I cannot take the ship, obviously. You cannot take your ship. Yeah, that means you just can't do it. So, if there are any spells that you'd like me to try on anything, let me know. If you want to see what something does, just let me know. But I will go ahead and do our first save. Alright. So, let's enter this tunnel here, and since that's the only way we can really go. This small cavern contains a control panel, several pieces of furniture, and a female dwarf. The dwarf looks at you in surprise.
Oh my! You're huge! But you're not glowing. Are you a god?
Well, I think we know the answer to this, but I'll let you all decide what I should say in this case. What do you all think I should say? I know what I would say. I know. Ghostbusters 101. Definitely a god.
Of course I'm a god. Where are my offerings?
Well, you're welcome to my bread and marmalade, but Limbeck is going to want some later on, so don't eat it all. You're not glowing even a little bit. Are you sure you're a god?
Let's go this way.
I'm not so huge. You're just small.
Ask anyone. I'm tall for my height. You're just a giant.
That's a rather unusual greeting. Hello to you as well.
I must have forgotten my manners. Hello, huge visitor. Try not to trip on anything. It must be hard to keep your balance when you're so far from the ground.
No, we're not gonna...
A god? Of sorts, perhaps.
Game,
Why
I
would
want
I
to
be
be a
glowing?
god. Just
All
let me be a
gods
god.
glow. At least everyone I've seen glows. How can you be a god if you're not glowing?
We are supposed to be scouting for Sartan, but do we want to reveal our mission this early or keep it close to the chest? She makes good points. Well, we're going to make a counterpoint.
Well, if you were a god, you'd know that we don't necessarily glow all the time.
The gods claim that they are gods because they glow. Anyone who doesn't glow can claim to be a god. You're big, but I don't think you're a god.
How many gods have you seen?
About this many. I think that there are more, but I don't get to see them.
You've seen gods around? Do they call themselves Sartan by chance?
No, they just call themselves gods. Maybe you're thinking about some other gods.
Oh, they're not gods. No, we're going to take them down. Oh, well, fine.
Ah, you've caught me. I'm not really a god, I'm just a traveler.
A traveler? Nice to meet you. I'm Jar. You're awfully big not to be a god, but you don't act like one. They're always yelling and commanding and taking things. Gods aren't very nice. Look what they did to my electric zinger panel.
Electric zinger? What's that?
The zingers are set up on the poles outside of the cave. When the lightning hits them, they suck up the electricity. I think the Kixie Winsy likes electricity or something. After the zingers have sucked up all they can hold, I pull these levers. Then the show starts.
Show? What show?
The zingers go crazy. They start spinning around and shooting sparks everywhere. Most of the electricity gets sucked into the Kixie Winsy, though, through the poles. Then my meters go back down, and I wait all over again.
The Kixie Winsy? What's that?
Why, it's the machine. How can you not know about the Kixie Winsy? It's everywhere. It digs our homes out from the earth. It makes water for us to drink and does, well, other things too. It's our responsibility to care for it, so it can care for us as well.
You mean that's all you do? Sit here and pull levers?
It's not that easy. You have to know the very best time to pull the levers. My family has been pulling these levers for years, and I'm the best lever puller there's been in a long time.
There's worse ways to make a living?
This is all very interesting, but can you tell me more about these gods?
Well, they only showed up about 100 years ago. They dropped from the air in a flying ship. We were curious, of course, and were prepared to greet them as friends. But a glowing figure emerged and declared itself our god. At least one of many. None of us glow, and no one had ever claimed to be a god before, so we believed it. Now they've moved in and taken control. Personally, I liked life without all this divine intervention.
Right when we were about to do the same thing, but
When it arrived, your glowing figure claimed to be a god, and you bought it?
Why would someone lie about that? I wouldn't claim to be a god if I wasn't. Besides, he glowed. The way they explain it, you can't glow if you're not a god.
no glow, no god.
If the figure didn't glow, would you have believed it?
Probably not. If they looked like you, I would have just thought that they were big, but not gods. A few extra feet of height doesn't make you divine.
If you're so upset with the gods, why don't you just drive them off?
They're gods. You don't just tell gods to go away if they get inconvenient. I might not like them, but they're ours. If they weren't gods, though, you can bet we'd have gotten rid of them long ago.
How exactly have these gods taken control?
They moved
Radium
into the
makes you
Kixie
glow,
Whimsy control room and kicked everyone else out. They're always doing tests and things to it. I don't like them tinkering with the Kixie Whimsy as if they didn't know how to work it. I mean, if you're a god, aren't you supposed to know all that stuff? Anyway, they've also kept us away from the north exit. That's where their ship is. They've always got a guard there to make sure, like they don't trust us.
Sure.
Nice place you've got here.
Thank you. I share it with Limbeck. He'll want to meet you. I'm sure he'll be delighted to see a visitor. We've never had one before.
Limbeck. I take it that he's another dwarf?
Of course he's a dwarf. What else would I be sharing my quarters with?
Does that mean you're attached?
Well, yes. Someone's got to look after my Limbeck. He'd fall apart without me.
Oh well, next dwarf, I guess.
You must really like this Limbeck.
I'm glad that I can take care of him. He's such a gump sometimes. He gets so involved in his work that he even forgets to eat. I have to bring him in his food. That's why I keep the bread and marmalade handy. It's his favorite.
I had to take a quick thing of this. Someone who forgets to eat sometimes? What is that about?
Isn't that kind of a limited diet?
Well, it's what he likes, and I have to make it perfectly. If there isn't enough marmalade, he calls it dry. If there's too much, he's so messy that he gets it everywhere. That's why I can't let him make it himself. He always puts far too much on.
Does he like these gods as much as you do?
He doesn't quite dislike them. He simply doesn't believe in them. He thinks that these gods have been taking advantage of us. We've been serving them when we were meant to serve the Kixie Whimsy. He says that we've been oppressed.
What does he do that keeps him so busy?
Mostly he writes speeches. They're supposed to enlighten the masses. He keeps telling people that the gods aren't gods, that he's seen the gods when they weren't glowing. Most dwarves don't believe him. Even I have a hard time, but I support him. He's my Limbeck, after all.
Can we talk
there's
about something
much
else?
All right.
I've enjoyed talking with you, but I'd like to explore this Kixie Whimsy thing.
Oh, certainly. Say hello to Limbeck if you get a chance. He's just in the next room.
She then immediately swings her gaze back to the gauges and studies them intently, totally oblivious to you, which is important. Because yoink, yoink, yoink. And let's open this. Oh. Let's look at the bed. It's a simple cot. Let's make the bed. You short sheet the bed, but given Jar's height, it may not make any difference. Let's sit on the bed. You drop down on the bed, rest a moment, and get back up again. Because, you sometimes have to sit back down to get up again. And then you might have to sit there. Let's look at this zinger control thingy. The panel controls the zingers outside the cave. Gauges indicate how much electricity the zingers have absorbed, and levers indicate the discharging process. Words we definitely know. So, let's see. We don't need that. So we have this white shirt. It's a dwarf-sized white t-shirt, none too clean. Can we wear it? The shirt was made for someone much smaller than you. Are you sides discriminating against me, game? I just. All right, and then we got this marmalade. It's a sealed glass jar filled with golden marmalade like jelly. Like, I'd never heard of marmalade before this game, and every time I see it now, I just get a little bit sick. I don't know why, but let's try to eat it. The marmalade is so sweet that you can only manage a small taste before you close up the jar again. Do we want to eat the bread? Let's eat the bread slice. You bite down the slab of bread. After the pain subsides, you decide that only dwarves can enjoy eating something so like a rock. Yes, a dwarf politician. Too bad Julie's not on. Julie would love this dwarf politician. Alright, put the marmalade on the bread slice. You slap a large dollop of marmalade onto the bread. It sits in the center, looking rather lonely. Oh, well, let's do some more. You slap a large dollop of marmalade onto the bread. The bread is uniformly covered with it just right. Well, I don't like just right. You slap a large dollop of marmalade, blah, 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 blah. The marmalade is overflowing. Perhaps you added just a bit too much. Alright, one more. Just one more mound added to the already overflowing mountain of marmalade. It doesn't get any messier than this. Perfect. Alright, and let us proceed to the next room. Papers and parchments are piled everywhere. In the middle is an intent, but confused-looking dwarf. Upon your arrival, the dwarf looks up from his scribbling and gasps.
My word! What are you?
Let's be honest.
I'm Haplo. What are you?
Haplo? Oh, that's your name. Forgive me, I forget my manners sometimes. I am Limbeck Bolt Tightener. Welcome to my home. You're not a god? No, you can't be. You're not glowing. I assume you're a traveler. A traveler from where? Where are you going? Do you know the gods? What do you think of the Kixie Winsey?
I'm just visiting. I've never been here before. I don't know the gods or anything about the Kixie Winsey.
I'm very sorry. Sometimes my curiosity gets the better of me. I'll try and be patient. Please go ahead, ask me anything.
I'm looking for a piece of something. It's metal, hexagonal, and has a symbol on it. It's very old. Do you know where I might find it?
I wish I could help, but I'm afraid I'm not familiar with anything like that. If it is very old, there's only one dwarf that might be able to tell you something. Old Grapple Rock Digger has been here forever.
Where can I find this rock digger?
Grapple sits in the same place every day, waiting for the Kixie Winsey to be repaired. Each day he sits there, he gets more and more surly. Go north to the intersection and follow the left wall. That will take you to him.
Grapple Rock Digger? Do you think he'd help me find it?
Old Grapple isn't very helpful in the best of moods. And lately, the section of the Kixie Winsey that he is responsible for has broken down. It's made him extremely sullen. He won't talk to anyone except in insults.
Do you think he could be persuaded to help me anyway?
I don't think so. We tend to be a fairly stubborn people and Grapple much more than most. If he doesn't want to be moved, he won't move. If he won't talk to you, no amount of persuasion will help.
If I told him I was a god, would he help me out?
Grapple hates the gods more than anyone. He remembers the days before the gods, when we worshipped the Mangers. He feels that the gods displaced them. I think if you told him you were a god, he would die before he uttered one word to steer you in the right direction.
What's being done to fix the Kixie Winsey?
Normally, the Kixie Winsey automatically fixes itself. But when something breaks that isn't vital or necessary, it leaves the section unrepaired. We don't know how to fix it, and Grapple refuses to leave it. He's been sitting there for weeks.
I think we do actually get to keep the marmalade after this.
How old is Grapple Rock Digger?
He's been here for as long as anyone remembers, long before I was born. He'll tell you he remembers when the Kixie Winsey was built, but that was thousands of years ago. I think what he forgets, he makes up.
Enough about this rock digger. Tell me more about this place.
Certainly. What do you want to know?
Ever heard of the Sartan?
The Sartan? is that a place? I'm sorry, I've never heard of it.
What are you writing?
Speeches. I have to convince my fellow dwarves that these gods aren't what they claim. They've oppressed us for too long. We must break the chains and take back our freedom. I'm just not very literate. I can't put my ideas down on paper very well, but I'm determined.
Why don't you ad-lib your speeches?
Oh, I couldn't do that. Every idea must be perfectly worded. One misspoken word could have the opposite effect of what I'm trying to achieve. I only deliver my speeches after I'm entirely happy with them.
Where'd you get all of these parchments?
I gathered them from all over the Kixie Windsy. No one reads them. In fact, no one can. They're too old. So I write my speeches on the back of them.
What makes you so sure that the gods aren't what they claim?
I've seen them. Without the glow. I discovered that it's artificially produced.
So they don't have the last dragon glow sometimes. Got it.
Isn't that enough to convince the other dwarves that they aren't gods?
I haven't told them. It might go against their beliefs to the extent that they would just stop listening to me. I simply can't risk it. The only way to convince them would be by removing the god's glow. Once my fellows have seen beyond the artificial shining, they will rise up and cast them out. I can't figure out how to do that, though.
It's not natural, eh? How do they make it?
It's magic. According to some of the older dwarves, everyone used to be able to use magic. They've cast a spell to make themselves glow.
A spell, you say, to make you glow, you say, like a god, you say?
How did you learn this?
When the gods arrived, they dropped from the sky in a flying ship. After they moved in, I snuck aboard the ship. I actually saw one of them, not shining at all. He was moving his hands in some intricate motion over a bunch of little statues. When he was done, the statues glowed brighter. I must have gasped, because he immediately looked over at me. I ran, and he never found me. But ever since, they've posted a guard outside the ship.
A flying ship?
Yes. One of the byproducts of the Kixie Windsy is water. For their own reasons, they pump the water into the ship and leave with it, only to return a few days later with new gods and an empty ship.
Let's talk about something else.
Very well.
Let's get back to talking about this place, shall we?
Certainly. What do you want to know?
I'm not going to go over every single thing.
What is that you're using
Because
for a candlestick holder?
There's a bit more talking than I remember.
If I had a better candlestick holder, you can bet that I'd be using it.
That's a mighty big jug of ink you've got there.
I found that jug of fast-drying ink quite a while ago. Despite the amount of speeches I write, I've only used a small portion of the ink the jug contains. I believe it will last indefinitely.
What is this place?
This is one of the sacred places of the Kixie Windsy. The broom closet. I'm lucky enough to have this place to work.
What exactly is the Kixie Windsy?
The Kixie Windsy is everywhere. It's all around us. The humming you hear is the Kixie Windsy at work.
How big is this machine?
Larger than anything. No matter where you go, the Kixie Windsy has been there first. It digs tunnels and fills them in according to its own whims. We live in the chambers that it builds. If it fills up our homes, we find somewhere new to stay. Its controls and instruments are scattered throughout the entire continent.
What does it do?
It serves the purpose of the Mangers. Long ago, the Mangers built the Kixie Windsy and asked us to care for it. We have done so ever since.
These Mangers, are they still around?
No. The Mangers have been gone for many, many years. Some of the young ones don't even believe in them anymore. Only stories and legends keep the memory of the Mangers alive.
I wonder if they might look like a particular sort of race.
In other words, you have no idea what the Kixie Windsy does.
Well, no. It isn't for us to know. Our purpose is to monitor and care for the Kixie Windsy. The gods don't seem to know what it does either. Ever since they moved in, they've been running tests of all sorts on it. They've restricted everyone from the control room where they've based their tests.
Let's talk about something else.
Certainly. What do you want to know?
That's all. I have to go.
Very well. I must get back to my speeches. Feel free to look around.
That we will. So, he's got that candle. A yellow blob of wax with a wick has been jammed into a long pipe. It throws a circle of light onto the paper on which the dwarf is writing. Let's look at that parchment. You see only the back of the parchment on which Limbeck is from. It has something printed on it, but you can't read it from here. Are you sure? Well, then let's take it.
Sorry, but I'm using this one. If you want to write your own speech, feel free to use any of the other papers.
I see. Well, Jar says you get hungry sometimes.
Drat. Now I'll have to start over.
So, without looking up, Limbeck accepts the bread and gobbles it down. The mountain of marmalade drips everywhere, even on the parchment before him. He throws the parchment to the side, selects another from a nearby pile, and again begins to write. Let's take that. Let's read it now. It's a geological survey map of the continent of Drevlin. It shows the location of all major mineral deposits. The other side is smeared and sticky, so you try to ignore it. And let's see. The ink jug is far too heavy to lift. Your estimation of Limbeck's strength increases dramatically. What about this cork? Okay. Let me just put my psychic skills to use here. You shove the shirt into the ink jug, where it quickly soaks up quite a bit of black ink. But by the time you pulled it out, the shirt is completely dry, albeit very black. Reasons. You stand in the middle of an intersection of caverns. He said that the grumpy guy was down the left one. Let's start with the right then. A massive control panel dominates the wall. This must be the brains of the Kixie Whimsy. Let's take a look around. You can't get a good look at the controls from here, and you dare not show yourself with the gods in the room. Let's look at them. Two glowing figures stand around the huge control panel. They tinker with it and study results, but don't seem to be getting anywhere. So, let's do another save. Alright. Do you, want to try some spells on the glowing folks? Honestly, we only have heat and cold, as far as anything that might do anything at all. Look at this score. Cork is about the size of our fist. Okay, very well. Can't do anything about that from here. Pipes and other metal fixtures run along and through the wall. They connect the control panel with the rest of the continent-sized machine. I am going to leave for now, but I'm going to come back and do something. I will. Alright. Let's go the middle way now. This is a workstation of the Kixie Whimsy. Obviously the job isn't too tough, or this dwarf wouldn't be asleep. Leaning back in his chair, a dwarf has fallen asleep with his head nestled between two bells of an alarm. The alarm, eh? Two cup bells sit in the bottom of the panel. A striker is affixed beside each of them. Let's look at this panel. It seems that this workstation is intended to monitor the ambient temperature. It includes both a temperature sensor and a feedback gauge, and an alarm for emergency situations. Temperature, you say? The gauge includes a broad range of acceptable temperatures. It has a clearly defined red danger zone at the hotter extreme. Hot, you say? Gauging temperature, huh? A glowing figure stalks around the outside of the caves, carefully listening for anything unusual. He guards the huge flying ship docked here. What? This looks like we can go up. You begin to walk into the shadows of the cave, hoping to sneak by the glowing guard. Before you take more than a few steps, the guard cocks an ear in your direction and strides towards you. You quickly backpedal, and eventually, the guard stops following you. Alright, observant guard, I see. We'll come back to here later. And let's go to the top left. This chamber is filled with convoluted pipes. A grumpy old dwarf sits on a stool under a broken section. You know what? Let's go ahead and take that. Pipe repair. Alright, so we got an old dwarf who is holding an elbow pipe. Let's just see what happens when we try to take it.
I need this to hear, Rockhead.
Alright, he whips the pipe out of your hands and bonks you on the head with it. Let's listen to the old dwarf first, because we've got 2 ears, 1 mouth. So we should do more listening, less talking. His continuous diatribe includes subtopics as how good the old days were, how the young dwarves don't have the respect for the kinks and whimsy they should have, and other standard cranky old dwarf complaints. Alright, pipes curve along the walls and the ceiling. You cannot guess what their functions are. Alright, let's talk to the old dwarf.
What the heck do you want, you overgrown, dim-witted god wannabe? And speak up!
Well, that's unkind.
I don't want anything, you squat, ugly old dwarf.
Then why are you wasting my time? Get out of here, you festering pile of refuse! You again? I thought even someone as thick as you would realize that I don't want to talk to you. What is it this time?
Are you Grapple Rockdigger?
No, my name's not Groople Potlicker, you rockhead. I'm Grapple Rockdigger. Who's asking?
That's what I said, Grapple Rockdigger. Can't you hear very well?
What did you say? Speak up. I can't hear very well.
I said your name was Grapple Rockdigger.
I know my name is Grapple Rockdigger, Dirtrag. I told you that.
Well, we know what happens if we say that we're a god and make him more upset than he already is. Let's just go honest.
My name is Haplo.
Flappo? Interesting name. I wouldn't want to be saddled with it, though.
Even Flappo is a better name than Grapple Rockdigger.
Then it's a good thing my name isn't Apple Snotfinger. Sheesh.
You know what? Yeah, sure, why not? I see.
God, eh? Well, you can just go right back to wherever you came from and to blazes with your questions and consequences. You again?
Okay.
Why are you sitting beneath that dripping black gunk?
I'm not moving until the Kixie Winsy is fixed, and that's final. If dripping gunk isn't going to make me move, you sure aren't.
Could I ask you a few questions?
Listen, I'm sitting under a broken pipe that's dripping black goo on my head, and the gods have commanded everyone to stay away so they can't fix the problem, and you want me to be friendly? Answer all your questions with a smile? Well, I'll tell you what, until the Kixie Winsy is fixed and those gods are gone, I'm not talking to anyone. No stories, no questions, nothing.
You won't talk to me until the gods are gone? Isn't that an awful lot to ask?
Who's asking you? As far as I'm concerned, you can bump your head on every tunnel ceiling you find until you realize that I'm not going to talk to you.
Why don't you fix the pipes?
It's not my job to fix it. Even if it was, I'd need something to fix it with.
What about that box labeled pipe repair on the floor?
Everybody's rummaged in that box taking what they want without regard for the fact that the Kixie Winsy might actually need it. At one time, there were 5 pipe fittings in the box. Now there aren't any.
Wait a second. What exactly are you holding in your ear?
It helps me hear. It's a pipe fitting. I guess I got it from the box.
What became of the missing pipe fittings?
Who knows? Some folks have absolutely no consideration. They took my pipe fittings for one silly purpose or another. Did they ask my permission? Not once. Why, the gods even made off with one of them. Even if I could get those other pieces back, I'll never see that one again.
Tell you what, if I repair your pipe, will you tell me what I need to know?
Why not? Fix my pipes and I'll answer your questions afterwards. As long as the guards are gone as well. I don't think very well with all of these walking lamps about.
I don't think the pipe helps your hearing all that much. Can I have it?
Very well, as long as I have your word that you'll use it to repair my pipes. Will there be anything else?
Let's start over. We seem to have gotten off on the wrong foot.
Have you looked at your overgrown feet lately? Wrong feet are all you have.
I'm looking for a seal piece, a hexagonal metal artifact with a symbol etched into it. Maybe you could tell me where I could find it.
I may have seen something like that. Doesn't matter, though. You obviously want to see it for yourself, and that's impossible. As I recall, there used to be a tunnel that led where you want to go, but the Kixie Winsy filled it up a long time ago. There's no way to get there anymore.
If the Kixie Winsy filled in the tunnel, couldn't it just as easily dig another?
And how are you going to convince the Kixie Winsy to dig where you want it to go? The gods have been trying to control it for years, and they've gotten nowhere. Besides, I'm not going to tell you where it is until my pipes are repaired. Fact is, I've said too much already.
Why are you so grumpy?
Wait a second. That's a question. If you're trying to trick me, it won't work. I'm not saying anything.
Maybe changing the subject would make you happier.
Not likely.
Could I ask you a few questions?
Listen, I'm...
Oh, whoops, sorry.
Maybe
went
changing
there.
the subject would make you happier. Nice stool.
There's no pool around here. What are you, blind?
No, I said stool. What are you, deaf?
Can't understand a word you said. New to the language, are you?
I know that there is...
Could I ask you a few...
Listen,
What's wrong with the...
a length of pipe is rotted away. I had to shut the main valve to keep it from spewing black gunk all over the place. So until the pipes are repaired, I can't risk reopening the valve.
Who needs this attitude? I'm leaving.
Fine. I'll just sit here under my broken pipe. You go have a nice life.
Maybe I'm misremembering, but there was like a conversation thing where you would just insult each other back and forth for a while. The stretch of pipe has rotted away, leaving two sections that are not connected. The steady drip from one end falls around the old dwarf's head. This does not improve his mood. Well, what happens if we do this? Valve squeals as you turn it, and the sound is soon accompanied by a low rumble. A spurt of black gunk falls from the broken pipe onto the old dwarf's head. He starts yowling, so you quickly return the valve to its original position. It's an old wooden stool. Shall we kick it? You slam your foot against the stool, but the dwarf doesn't move. Instead, he launches into a lecture about how you should respect your elders, including some dwarven swear words you've never come across before. Interesting. Well, you said that we need 5 of these pipe fittings. We only have 2 right now. And there's one right here that he needs to light the candle, I guess. Once we find something for him, we might be able to take that up. Alright, so let's go here. And so there was that bit about the gauge and heat. Let's try it out. You hang the heat rune construct in the air. As soon as you've completed the glowing lines of the spell, the temperature sensor begins to smoke. The gauge's needle jumps into the danger zone and the twin bell alarms sound. This rudely awakens the sleeping dwarf, who immediately panics. The commotion attracts the glowing guard, who is covering his ears in pain. He screams at the dwarf to stop the alarm, but the dwarf appears as helpless as the guard. You find it quite easy to sneak by the guard while he's busy trying to get the alarm to stop. The ship's deck overlooks dwarven caves. A rope ladder drops to the ground and stairs lead elsewhere into the ship. Let's go down first. Slaves in this room power and guide the ship, with the help of magic provided by the ship's wizard. These slaves are the first you've ever seen the Blemench phrase called human, and you're a little taken aback by the similarity they have with your own people. Aside from their mongrel hair collars and lack of heart runes, the humans appear almost identical to patrons. You might even be able to pass yourself off as one of their kind. Well, those are not good. Well, we have slaves, and then we have Duke. Let's talk to the Duke of the ship.
Who are you? Are you a slave? I don't recognize you and you aren't chained. I certainly hope you aren't an elf sympathizer.
I'm not a sympathizer. Then again, I'd say the same thing if I was.
Of course, that's true. I'll simply have to believe you. I don't have much choice. I've been here too long and hope is wearing thin. My name is Andrews. I'm King Stephen's cousin, a duke.
Why are you here?
It's a long story. I was leading my people against the elven forces on one of the smaller Volcarian isles. We were greatly overmatched, and they defeated us easily. They killed most of my army and took the rest as slaves, including myself. Luckily, they didn't recognize me as the king's cousin. I would be more valuable as a hostage for ransom than as a slave.
I recognize you as something a little bit better than the other slaves. You're wearing clothes.
Why haven't you been rescued before now?
When elves capture humans, they divide them into small groups aboard their fleet of flying ships. That way, rebellions are manageable and usually non-existent. Aboard these ships, slaves are impossible to track. Even if there was a plan to rescue us, they'd never be able to single out this particular frigate.
If King Stephen knew you were here, could he rescue you?
It's possible, I suppose. If you can get to my cousin and tell him that I'm being held prisoner here on Drevlin, he would do everything in his power to rescue me. You'll need something to convince him, though. Go to Eulandia, the fourth island. Give this to the king. The ring should be enough to convince him to believe you.
This was after he thought for a moment, reached into the lining of his tower jacket, and got out a gold signet.
Who are these other people?
Members of my army. Now, like myself, slaves to the elves. Although the ship is powered mostly by magic, it requires manpower to steer it. Following the elves' commands, we manipulate the ropes you see here, which change the attitude of the wings. That's what we do. That's all we do.
That seems rather mean.
What's the story behind these gods?
Drevlin is important because the Kixie Winzy, as these dwarves call it, pumps out water as a byproduct to whatever else it does. Water is scarce throughout the realms. In order to control this water source, the elves have convinced these gullible dwarves that they are gods. Their claim is based on a simple glow spell dreamed up by the ship's wizard. The crew is fairly small, only about 4 or 5 elves, but they are spread thin throughout the caverns. In order to maintain the spell, the wizard has created miniature statues that he uses as substitutes. He keeps them all aboard the ship in one place. As long as the glow spell lasts on the statues, no matter where the elves are, they continue to glow, and the dwarves continue to believe that the elves are gods.
That's all. Thanks for the information.
As you wish. But I can only hope that you will return to aid us.
Of course. So now we have a new location. Because we're about to hit a dead end here for now. This chamber quarters the ship's wizard. It's tiny, which emphasizes how messy it is. Let's look at wizard stuff. Maybe there's a spell. The wizard has collected a few papers and other bizarre objects, none of which have any use. Wine jug? Sure. We'll take it. Can we put the cork in the wine jug? The cork is too big to fit in the wine jug. Oh well. Is there anything else? Well, let's look at these figurines. There are 3 figurines. All of them are miniature elves, and they all glow bright. Well, we can look at the ship wizard. Ship's wizard lies sprawled on a cot, snoring away. With every exhalation, you smell the strong odor of wine. Well, let's see if we can out-wizard this fool. Let's burn him up with some heat. The wizard sighs and begins thrashing around on the bed. Perhaps he's running through Hades in his dream. Let's wait.
What is a human doing loose? In my quarters. I'll have to take care of you quickly.
Yeah. Oh, so we won't do that. Doomed to a life of slavery if we wake him up. I guess we could not out magic him. Anyways, so we leave, and we basically cannot do anything else here. But I think we can. Let's have a little sip. You take a small sip from the jug. The taste is sour, and the liquid burns as it slides down your throat. You don't understand how anyone can enjoy this stuff. Will this do for you?
Yes, that's very nice.
I guess not. Alright, well, I guess we are off to the 4th island. And now we get to use our steering wheel, because we do not need slaves to power our ship. It is so much more efficient. King Stephen's Castle. Off to the north, you see a splendid castle, although it is built more like a fortress. King's forest is comprised of a combination of wild and cultivated trees. 2 sentries guard this gate to the castle. A path winds around the castle wall. Let's see what's around that.
No trespassing on the castle grounds. Off with you now.
Okay, well, we start to wander down the path that follows the castle wall and cannot yet. So let's just, I guess, talk to these folks.
Why are you sneaking around on royal grounds, knave? What's your business here?
I'm not sneaking. And who are you calling a knave, blackguard?
That's a form of the word guard I'm not fond of. Who are you calling a blackguard, varlet?
Who are you calling a varlet, ruffian?
Who are you calling a ruffian, scoundrel?
Who are you calling a scoundrel, rogue?
Who are you calling a rogue, rapscallion?
Who are you calling a rapscallion, thug?
Who are you calling a thug, miscreant?
Who are you calling a miscreant, cad?
Who are you calling a cad, villain?
Who are you calling a villain, scamp?
Who are you calling a scamp, scapegrace?
Who are you calling a scapegrace, cur?
Cur? You're resorting to animal references? Well, I'm all out of insults anyway. What the heck do you want?
That was enjoyable. Alright.
I'm here to see the king. Would you tell him I'm here?
You and everyone else in the kingdom. Now, if I start making special trips to tell the king you're here, I'll have to do it for everyone else. If you had real business with the king, you'd have an appointment. Now just turn around and go back the way you came.
You don't understand. The king isn't expecting me, but I've got to see him. His cousin is in danger.
Is he in danger of running out of money? He must be pretty desperate if he's enlisting help from the likes of you. Do you have any proof? A signed note from the Duke? Anything?
Let me think about it.
Sure, you do that. If you pull anything out of the air that supports your story, you be sure and hand it over. Until then, you'd better be on your way.
I don't know why I have to think about it when I just pull this ring out of my pocket. Well, let's see if it's fancy enough. You slide the ring onto your finger and admire it for a few moments, then remove it. One shouldn't presume too much. Alright, let's go to them now. You hand the Duke's ring to the nearest guard. He examines it carefully and eyes you with suspicion. Somewhat forcefully, he offers to escort you inside. It doesn't seem to you that you have much choice. Soon, you enter the royal throne room. You stand in front of King Stephen himself. Once a renowned warrior, he's older now, but remains a powerful and formidable man. He shuns royal robes in favor of battle armor, as if he's ready to lead his troops to war at any second. He sits comfortably on the throne and looks at you with a light smile. Beside him hovers a brown-robed wizard. He casually introduces himself as Trian, a royal magician, but at the same time watches you warily.
What do we have here? A brigand who's stolen my cousin's signet ring? Someone who has kidnapped the Duke? What do you want from me, ransom? I must warn you, I don't deal with traitors to the crown. It's hard to talk business with someone who's missing a head. Now that we've dispensed with the preliminaries, tell me why you're here.
Nothing now, thanks for Do you want me to be goopy, or let's start straight away? We can be goopy with guards, because, guards have nothing else to do, but I suppose we can undo something.
I just picked up the ring outside. I figured this was lost and found.
An interesting tale, but quite impossible. Duke Andrews wouldn't be separated from his signet ring unless his life depended on it. Now, let's stop playing games. Tell me how you came by this ring, because your life does depend on it.
I love how he says that with his smile. Like, oh, this is fun. I am gonna kill you, but hey, fun time.
I'm a ring salesman. Do you like my sample?
This ring is no counterfeit. I had it checked before summoning you. Quit wasting my time. Tell me how that ring came into your possession, and be quick about it.
Okay, fine.
Your cousin gave it to me to substantiate my story. If you'll allow me a couple words between threats, I'll relate the facts.
Indulge yourself, my friend. I'm all ears.
I don't talk well when I'm under pressure.
I think you'd find yourself under a bit more pressure when you're on the rack. Neither of us want to wait that long, though. Save us both the effort and just tell your story, won't you?
Well...
Nope. Dang it. Oh, I was trying to get the other one. Oh. You explained Duke Andrews is rotting in the slave galley on Drevin. You're quick to add that you can't guarantee how long the ship will remain there. You suggest that King sends his forces to rescue the Duke immediately.
I appreciate the information, but there's little I can do. Drevlin is the elves' main source of water. They guard it jealously. My armies wouldn't make it anywhere near the ship that Andrews is trapped aboard. There is another way. If my cousin is out of the elves' clutches, we will be able to free him. Somehow you have a way to get in and out of Drevlin undetected. Return there, get that slave ship to lift off, to go back to the Tribus Empire. I don't know how, but you must do it. Their ships traditionally follow a route through space that I control. We will set an ambush for it. As soon as we see the frigate, we'll box it in. Those ships are usually manned by skeleton crews. We shouldn't have any trouble wresting control. After the ship is ours, we'll bring it here and free all of the slaves on board, including my cousin. You are now my agent. If you are able to pull this off, I'll make it worth your while. I'll inform my men that you represent my authority, just so you won't run into any trouble. We are at war, you know, and my men are very suspicious of potential spies. Good luck, my friend. I hope to see you back here soon.
The guards, a little less roughly this time, escort you out the castle and back to the main gate. So, let's see if we can go around the way we couldn't before. A window in the castle wall is covered by a warped wooden shutter. Bushes and trees have overgrown the path. What's this? We will take that shear. Is it something we could use to maybe pop this off? You slide the garden shear into the crack made by the warped shutter just under the bar on the other side. With a quick flick of your wrist, you lift the bar out of its brace and send it clattering to the floor. Well, I guess we'd have to be holding the bushes before you can put them on the shutter? Not my intention anyways. Let's open it. The shutter creaks protest as you swing it open on its worn and rusty hinges. No one saw or heard. As you start to swing open the shutter, you see someone enter the room beyond. You close the shutter to its original position to watch the approaching figure through the crack. When he gets further into the room, you recognize him as Trian, King Stephen's royal wizard. Trian walks up to the tapestry hung on the wall and, with a fluid expert motion, weaves a rune construct in the air. The spell sinks into the tapestry and somehow changes the image. It looks perhaps a bit more real than it did before. Trian then walks right into the picture, becomes part of it. He speaks with another figure inside, an elf prisoner in the dungeon, and then departs, both the tapestry and the room. Immediately, the tapestry fades back to a dull imitation of reality, no longer a doorway into another world. You have learned the spell. What spell, you say? It is called Create Reality Pocket. When any picture is created, the artist also makes a pocket of reality inside the mystical plane called the Otherwhere. Although metaphorically, the artist is capturing a moment of time when he paints a picture. He actually freezes that moment inside the Otherwhere. The Create Reality Pocket spell, when cast upon a picture, forms a portal to that captured moment. People can enter it, interact with the subject of the picture, even place objects inside it and take others out. As soon as the caster exits the reality pocket, or he leaves it unattended for a period of time, the spell will wear off, and a portal will disappear. Well, we don't want to cast it on ourselves. Let's, hop in there. Well, hey, a proper candle holder. We'll take that. What's this furniture? It's tasteful and expensive. Any spell books? You scan through the collection of books, but find only one that interests you, a tome entitled Power of the Brotherhood. Let's do a quick read. Power of the Barking Hood, aka the Brotherhood. The Mysteriarchs. At the risk of sounding immodest, no society of wizards since the ancient Sartan has gathered more knowledge or commanded such power. We are unequaled. Indeed, other wizards have begun to view us as a threat. Because of this, and for other reasons as well, we decided to move into the High Realm. There, we will be able to focus our attention on learning. We will be free from the petty concerns that dominate the minds of those who slave themselves to war. To this end, it was necessary to construct ships, procure cargo and supplies, and obtain building materials for our new cities. Some of the needed supplies were scarce. Others were illicit, or under the control of the elves, with whom we ourselves are currently at war. Thus, we are forced to rely on the trade and contraband. The smuggling trade is regulated by an organization called the Brotherhood, which rules over the trading routes with an iron fist. Our decision to make use of the Brotherhood was a difficult one, but we were left with no other alternative. For the first time in our history, we needed help. The Brotherhood is a guild of assassins, but its membership wields enormous political power through their connections to people placed at the highest level of government. Their reputation is spotless. I have never known of a contract that wasn't eventually executed, so to speak. Given this, it's understandable that their services don't come cheap. Over the course of thousands of years, the Brotherhood has amassed a fortune, sufficient in size to buy and sell most kingdoms a few times over. In addition to the money have come relics, treasures, and information, surpassing the wildest dreams of any museum or library. But when it came to safeguarding these precious possessions, the Brotherhood turned to us. They sought our assistance in the creation of a magical fortress, in which their operations could be centralized and their treasures stored. At that time, and after much debate, we sent them packing, only to ultimately discover some advantage in assisting them. For the Brotherhood had exactly what we needed: limitless funds and strong connections in every market. Not only were they willing to give us enough to buy 10 times what we required, they would make the elusive suppliers available to us. So, he agreed. From the beginning, many of us viewed the task as an intellectual challenge. The magics required to build such a fortress would involve spell merges and constructs heretofore unknown. We see it as a way to increase our knowledge and enhance our abilities. It was a deal with the devil, of course, but never before had we been able to concentrate so many diverse talents on a single goal. The potential for unparalleled growth was enormous. Construction itself was relatively simple. We incorporated enough secret passages and magic portals into the fortress to keep even the most paranoid assassin happy. Merely to open a front door requires an intricate and exhaustive ritual. The door could have been made easier to operate while equally secure, but the members of the Brotherhood wanted the doorway to feel complex. Oh well, they're the ones who now have to remember half a page of nonsense gestures that simply to enter their home. The most interesting part of the project was the vault. The Brotherhood's ongoing quest to gather all of the Sartan artifacts in the realms had left them with a number of priceless pieces. One of our top priorities was to build a storage room for the dogs, as well as for their priceless artifacts. something completely secure. We thought long and hard about the best way to protect their treasures. Eventually, we all agreed that the safest place to put them was the Otherwhere. The Otherwhere is a place between realities, a place of possibilities only. Every possibility exists there, however remote. That's what a wizard draws upon when he casts a spell. Say, for example, he wants to create a light in that dark room. In the Otherwhere, the possibility exists that the other room is already lit. With a spell, he bends this possibility into reality, until the room is lit. All magic is merely changing of reality, is capitalizing on a possibility that already exists. Every creative idea exists there. When an artist dreams of something new, he makes a pocket in the Otherworld that holds his idea. The possibility that exists in this reality, however remote, never enough. Every painting, every picture, is a window into the Otherworld. It was this property that we decided to use. Specialized magic allows us to put real things into the Otherworld, and some of them out again. The simplest form of this magic is the Create Reality Pocket spell, although the name is a misnomer. It does not actually create a reality pocket, it merely causes the picture to become a bridge or passageway to the pocket that already exists inside the Otherworld. Many wizards already use this spell to store items inside the Otherworld using a painting large enough to walk through. The Brotherhood's vault was designed to function as a step beyond this. We constructed a special chamber in the tower called the Vault. Most of the room, all except a platform in the center, was intended to house the Brotherhood's treasure. The platform was to serve as the room's safe area, a place where the complex spells were going to be cast, and eventually from where the treasure would be summoned and banished. The treasure was filled with the treasure, and 5 Mysteriarchs took it to the platform. Working in concert, they magicked a portal to the Otherworld. Unlike the simple Create Reality Pocket spell, this portal was permanent. Everything in the chamber, not upon the boarded platform in the center, was transported into the Otherworld. Naturally, the Brotherhood wanted to be able to retrieve their treasure, and they lacked the magic ability to summon it back themselves. So we created a link in the spell, a set of key crystals. While these key crystals are in place, they break the spell, much like a hand can interrupt a beam of sunlight. Everything previously banished to the Otherworld will materialize and remain until those crystals are removed. We constructed a pedestal inside the warded platform. When the crystals are placed in this pedestal, they will unlock the spell and summon the treasure. The Brotherhood found this solution acceptable, but decided to add a further level of security as well. The treasure chamber was hidden behind a door covered with carved handprints. Each handprint was inlaid with a different material, usually gemstones, to distinguish them from each other. When these handprints were pressed in a certain order, the wall would open. We constructed the wall based on their specifications and made some further recommendations. The correct sequence that would open the wall did not have to be the same all the time. We added a method to change the sequence based on the time of the month. Of course, we left the actual entry codes up to the Brotherhood. They wanted the entry codes to remain a secret, even from us. The Brotherhood trusts no one. I believe that, had they been powerful enough to eliminate everyone associated with the construction, they would have already done so. Only the fact that we intended to leave the mid-realms made the Brotherhood rest easy. I surmise that if they knew that this text existed, they'd have stopped at nothing to destroy it. Well, that's interesting. I'm sure that will not be relevant at all later. So, let's do that little spelly thing that we saw. I can't draw them. You leave the spell in the air. Suddenly, the tapestry becomes a window into a scene, instead of just a picture of it. It appears as if you could walk right into it. And just to make sure it's to the... yeah. You step through the tapestry into a dank dungeon cell. This is the archetype of a dungeon cell. Spartan, not Sartan, and devoid of all unnecessary furnishings. Well, hello, wizard.
Why would you think that I want to talk to another dirty, stinking human? Why don't you just leave me alone before you start making me angry?
You don't look like you're in any position to make demands.
I may not be able to leave, but I certainly don't have to waste my time talking with you.
Waste time? What else are you going to do?
Sit here and not talk to you.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Bad foot.
Why would you think that?
So, do you like these accommodations?
What do you think? I'm stuck in an archetypical dungeon cell. The light in the wall never shuts off. I haven't had anything to eat or drink for hours. Ah, what I wouldn't give for some wine right now.
Why are you here?
I was unlucky enough to let myself be captured by Trian. I suppose it's better than if the king caught me. He would have executed me for sure. Trian's keeping me alive to get whatever information he can. So far, I've told him nothing, and that's just what you're going to get as well.
You don't like humans?
You are barbarians. Uncouth, unclean. Fit only to be slaves or dead. Your only hope for civilization is to be conquered by the elven nation.
Typical elven speak. Dwarves are so much nicer.
Alright, I'll leave you alone.
Good. Bugger off.
Hey, you did mention something about wine.
Ah, it's gooseberry wine.
He tilts the jug back and takes a few hearty slugs. Afterwards, when he's placed on the bench, he regards you with a much friendlier expression. Hello, friend!
I guess you're not so bad for a human. It wouldn't hurt to pass a little time talking.
Great. So, what information is Trian trying to get out of you?
He's trying to get information about troop movements and war strategies. The problem is I don't know anything about those things. I'm not going to tell him that, of course. His hope of getting that information is the only thing that keeps me alive.
Where are you from?
I am a royal wizard from the Tribus Empire, loved and revered throughout the elven nation. Although I didn't serve the emperor himself, I served a lord very close to him.
Where exactly are we? We're in a tapestry, right?
Something like that. The spell that Trian used on the tapestry created a pocket of reality. This cell exists only in the Otherwhere, a place of infinite realities. It was created when the artist made the tapestry. The spell connects a bridge between the real world and this room. When the caster leaves the pocket, he severs the tie and the pocket is cast adrift back into the Otherwhere.
How long have you been here?
A few weeks. It has been hellish. Trian has treated me abysmally. Even though you human barbarians have no manners, I was under the impression that traditional respect between wizards would have resulted in better treatment.
So, you're a wizard, huh?
Of course I am. I'm only of the 4th house, but it makes me formidable nonetheless. If I hadn't been distracted by that serving wench, Trian would never have gotten the drop on me.
If you're so powerful, why haven't you escaped?
Every time Trian casts the Create Reality Pocket spell, he summons this cell from the Otherwhere. After he leaves, the cell is cast adrift back into the Otherwhere. It's impossible to make that connection from this side. Even if I could break through these bars, I wouldn't be able to leave the cell until Trian returned and reestablished the link. At that point, he would keep me from escaping.
If you hate this dungeon so much, can't you use your magic to change it?
Well, if I could get out of these bars, I'd probably douse that glow lamp on the wall. It's impossible to get any sleep with the lamp always shining in my eyes. In order to remove the glow spell that's on it, I'd have to create a shroud of darkness and place it over the lamp, and it's out of reach.
How exactly does that shroud of darkness spell go?
Come here, I'll show you. Now first you need a black cloth. The color is important because black absorbs all light. When you place the prepared cloth over the glowing object, the cloth is going to do just that, absorb the light, albeit to an even greater extent. Then you cast the Shroud of Darkness spell upon it, like so.
His hands cut gracefully through the air, tracing a glowing magic rune structure. Watch entranced as the spell takes shape. The wizard completes the structure. It hangs in the air, excuse me, and you study it intently. Focused on memorizing the spell, you fail to observe the wizard's hand slipping into motion again. Suddenly his hand grabs yours, and he jerks you out of your trance. Another spell hangs in the air. Benignly, the first spell fades away, but the new spell begins to take effect. You're staring at the new rune construct in confusion, your hand locked in his iron grip, when you notice a tingling sensation spread through your body. A thunderclap later, and you notice that you're looking at the floating spell from the other side. Immediately, the wizard releases your hand, and through the bars, you see him race out of the room laughing. The spell fades, and you realize that the wizard used his magic to swap positions with you. You are now the prisoner in the cell, and he is free. You drop heavily to the bench. After hours of waiting, Trian walks into the cell. Seeing you sitting on the bench stops him in his tracks. You clear your throat and explain what has transpired. He listens intently and, after a moment of thought, decides to free you. Trian escorts you into his personal chamber. He explains that he was keeping the wizard's secret from the king, so he cannot report the escape. He tells you to forget that you ever saw him, and asks you to leave the same way that you entered. Trian walks out the door and locks it behind him. There was some more information we could have gotten, but... oh well, that's... c'est la vie. We're not going to be an undoer, unless it's a dead ending. But... we did learn something interesting. Black cloth and shrouded darkness. Let's see what happens. So that would be a... yep, Jew. I think I did it. I don't have black cloth though. As you read the spell around the shirt, the light around you dims as if the shirt was drawing it in. When the spell has been completed, you can only make out the vague shape of the shirt, but none of its features. It looks like a hole in the air. You can barely make it out. It's such like a sponge, if a sponge could suck at life. Well, let's head back. Oops. Oh well, c'est la vie. Elves cannot be trusted, only dwarves. So, with that new spell, well actually first, we found this for you, buddy.
This is much better than the pipe I was using. It's very thoughtful of you to offer it.
He gently removes the candle from the straight pipe, hands the pipe over to you to hold, and jams the candle into the candle holder. Enthralled, he sets it down on the corner of the table, admiring the holder and completely forgetting about the pipe. Alright, 3 out of the 5 pipes we need. And can't get anything in there. Alright. Well, one more time without noops, I think. Cover your ears, folks. Yep. The guard's like, what is going on? Why is this happening to me? So, darkness over the glow. You drape the black shirt over the glowing figurines. The magic of the shroud draws the light from the statuettes into itself until they remain dull and gray. Since it is the magic on the figurines that maintains the glow effect on the gods, the instant the magic disappears, so does the elves' spells. They quickly realize their situation and bolt for the ship. I love that jump. That jump was like, wow! Clickety heels, let's skedaddles. Dwarves, seeing their gods without their glow, quickly form a lynch mob. They chase the hapless elves out of the caves, bellowing rather imaginative and graphic threats of violence. The noise causes the sleeping wizard to stir. To keep from being discovered, you dive out of his quarters onto the ship's deck. Alright, let's do another Saveroony. Okay. Alright, so let's get out. Let's go. You bump into the group of elves boarding the ship just ahead of the mob of dwarves. Looks of surprise on their faces when they see you are almost immediately replaced by expressions of anger. Two of the elves grab your arms while another calls for the ship's wizard. He appears from his quarters and quickly weaves the spell of death, which, on one hand, is a rather useful spell to learn. On the other hand, it's a rather fatal way to learn it. Let's undo that. Alright. So we can't leave that way. And if we go upstairs, well, again, die, so I guess we're going down to the slaves.
Hide in the storeroom. They'll kill you if they find you here.
From the deck, you hear the scuffling of the elves as they board the ship. The Duke whispers to you, hide, and he points out a hidden door in the back of the galley off to the west. You hear some scuffling and shouted orders from the galley. Soon, the ship breaks away from its mooring and lifts off. A deep voice booms from somewhere near the door that the ship is entering human-controlled space. All lights must be doused and all noise ceased. If the humans discover the ship's exact position, it could be taken. Alright, well, any supplies? Miscellaneous supplies are piled around the room, but aside from notable exceptions of the chest and another flimsier box, they include nothing of interest. Let's open the box. You rip open one of the larger boxes. Inside, you find a strange device with 3 metal prongs, which crackle with electricity. A switch is then wired into its base. You shove the flimsy remains of the box to the side. And we open that. The FD lock attached to the lid keeps you from opening the strongbox. Can we hack it? The shear is too rusty and thin to withstand such an activity. If you try to snap open the lock of the shear, chances are it won't be the lock that breaks. Alright, well, let's take the zinger. Carefully you pick up the electric zinger. It tingles a bit, but doesn't deliver the shock you expected. Well, let's turn this sucker on. Control the switch. You pull the switch attached to the electric zinger. As soon as the connection is made, the whole contraption flies out of your hands, bouncing off the walls and throwing sparks everywhere. Evidently, the light and sound pouring through the portholes was enough to attract the attention of King Stephen's forces. They surround the ship in mid-flight, board her, and take the captured vessel back to the castle.
Congratulations. You actually succeeded. I didn't expect it, but I am pleased. Andrews and his men are safe. My thanks, friend.
My pleasure, Your Highness. I did put my life on the line, but it was worth it to serve you.
I certainly hope you aren't being sarcastic. My men gladly lay down their lives for me. That privilege is reward enough for them. I was going to offer something else, but that can be arranged.
Not only did you get your cousin back safely, but now you have an elven ship. I think you made out pretty well.
Very true. That elven ship will certainly come in handy, especially to infiltrate elven-controlled lands. You've proven your worth.
Wasn't there something about making it worth my while?
You're correct. I'm not one to forget my promises when it suits me. What do you want? I think we are more loyal than money and daughter. We are on a mission from the guy who saved our lives, so we'll be serious about this one thing.
Perhaps you could just supply some information.
Certainly. Tell me what you'd like to know.
You relate your experiences on Drevlin and explain that you're looking for an artifact that the Kixie Winsey may have buried somewhere. If that's true, only the Kixie Winsey can dig it back up.
I'm not sure how I can help you there. Even my learned wizard knows precious little about the Kixie Winsey. There is something I might be able to offer, though. The Kixie Winsey is an ancient Sartan artifact. Only the Sartan knew exactly what it did and how to control it.
You know the Sartan, eh?
Since they disappeared ages ago, all that remains are the books and documents they left behind, but they are very scarce. In fact, the only place you can find them is in the Tower of the Brotherhood.
Why is the Brotherhood the only place you can find these documents? Doesn't anyone else have a collection?
A long time ago, private researchers kept their own collections. They soon experienced very fatal accidents and their collections were appropriated by the Brotherhood. Pretty soon, whenever Sartan artifacts were discovered, they were delivered directly to the tower. Nowadays, the Brotherhood usually employs the researchers outright.
Well, we kind of know what the Brotherhood is, but what is it like from your perspective?
What's the Brotherhood?
The Brotherhood is a guild of assassins. They pride themselves on the completeness of their library. They've gathered information from every corner of Arianis. This includes all of the Sartan artifacts they could find. No other collection exists anywhere. If documents exist that discuss the function of the Kixie Winsey, they're in their tower.
Where is the tower located?
That's a problem. The tower is located in Skirvash, a smuggler's haven that lies on the border of elven and human lands. No nation governs that city. It's completely lawless. The Brotherhood has an iron grip on the place. Neither we nor the elves have been able to get a toehold. Skirvash is a haven for criminals and cutthroats. It wouldn't be a problem, once there, to go about your business unnoticed. People go there for the anonymity. The problem is getting you there in the first place. Currently, the elves control space around that area. I can't sneak anyone in or out. Any ship with the markings of the Royal Fleet is attacked before it even gets near the city.
What about that elven ship I just delivered to you? Couldn't that sneak me into Skirvash?
Yes, that's true. We've never had our hands on an elven ship before. They certainly wouldn't be expecting it, especially so soon after its capture. They'd have no reason to stop it from reaching Skirvash.
Very well. It looks like my only alternative. Let's get going.
Very well. I will staff the elven ship with my own soldiers. They will fly the ship to Skirvash and wait there while you search for your documents. When you have completed your business, they will escort you back to Drevlin. I will assume that this clears me of my debt to you. I wish you luck, friend.
So, we are taken... Well, alright, you leave the King's Castle, reboard the Elven frigate, and discover that it's already manned by soldiers from the Royal Army. A no-nonsense sergeant greets you and signals the others to lift off. Within a few hours, you leave behind all signs of human habitation on any of the floating land masses. The only ships you see are of Elven design. They let you pass unmolested, mistaking your ship for a member of their fleet. Soon the sergeant points out a dark city on one of the floating islands. The ship glides towards it, but lands a couple of miles away.
We don't want to answer any questions at the regular port, such as why King Stephen's men are flying an elven frigate. Better you get a little exercise and walk into town. Come back when you've finished your business, and make it quick. Just being around elven space makes me nervous, but waiting so close to the Brotherhood is downright terrifying.
Well, here we are, about to hit Brotherhood land. That's not going to be fun. So, we'll hit our first stop. We'll end it here. Yeah, so a little bit more talking than I remember. There's definitely going to be a puzzle-intensive part going to the tower. It is not 100% necessary to have read the book, but it does put quite a few things into context. So yeah, next part, I think it's... Hopefully we'll be done with Arianis at the end of next stream, but I just remember the tower just being such a headache. Because yeah, it's a bit puzzling. And I'm pretty sure I remember how it is because I've played this a couple of times all the way through because I do love the game. I love the voice acting and just the story plot itself as it kind of unfolds. But yeah, basically what we've done is we kind of got out of the labyrinth. Zara said, "Hey, you're my agent. Go figure out what's going on everywhere else and bring me back some more spells and stuff like that." We have quite a few spells now. We have tripled our spell list. Although still, probably heat and cold are still only offensive spells. You can also make spells up if you want. Up to that many. They do all have to interlace at some point, but yeah. Anyways. There are some spells that you do have to create in the game. I think at least one or two. But yeah, basically, we're going to be going into the city, and it's going to be puzzly. Still pretty fun, though. Also introduces a character that's pretty central in the novels, but is kind of just a footnote in the game, unfortunately. But yeah, I hope you all have enjoyed this so far. And I'm going to go ahead and just... soften that. Thank you everyone for putting up with the technical difficulties at the beginning of the stream. Now that I know kind of how to fix them, it won't happen next time. And whenever I start tomorrow's stream, we'll just be right here. But yeah, this game definitely takes me back. I played this, I think it was high school high school time and stuff, and it was just reminded me of some pretty fun times. But yeah. Yeah, sorry. I'm just like starting to get flashbacky and remembering. I'm like, nostalgia. That's a thing. But yeah, thank you all so much. I'm gonna go ahead and do my closing song. I have a closing song and ending song bit kind of thing. Now I've gotten a little bit better at the twitchiness. I will try to fix the banner and face cam. We'll put them on top. I just thought, chat and the game are more important than the banner and me, right? Right? I don't know. Anyways, I hope you all have a good evening. I'll see you tomorrow at 7-ish. Well, probably a little bit earlier. But yeah, take care. Have a good night. And bye-bye,